was feeling it yesterday. Though, yeah, the portal was super intense yesterday. I haven't really had a Lionsgate affect me like that before. Usually it's easy squeezy. Or not easy squeezy, but easy peasy lemon squeezy. But this year was something else. I have a question about this money block I'm confronting. Is that in alignment with manifesting? Oh, for sure. Yeah, it can be manifesting anything. It all kind of falls under the same umbrella. What do you feel like is going on with the money block that you have going on? Dang. Okay, that's lighter. It's so hard to hold down. Hello, welcome. We are doing a manifestation chat today. Oh, thank y'all for liking the live. I appreciate it. And clear away some of that energy from yesterday. Hello, welcome. For those of y'all they're just joining in, we are doing a manifestation chat. So if you have questions around that area, feel free to ask and I will answer them to the best of my ability. I teach a private yoga class that was donation based. I charge it to a minimum donation of $10. Okay. I'll wait for the second half of that. Okay, cool, Thomas. Thanks for letting me know. Glad to have you here, even if it's listening in. This is some selenite here as well, which is good for cleansing and clearing. I still get people coming into the class and I'm making money, but it's not as much as I was making. Okay, did you feel like you had more people in the class prior? Like the numbers have kind of gone down? Has there been like a shift in something? I still get people coming to the class and oh no, that's the same thing to say. I thought you were another one. Okay. So do you feel like there was, but I feel bad because people are not becoming because of money. Do you know for a fact that's why they're not coming? Or is that something that is like a belief that's coming up, that's shifting the energetics underneath whom you're bringing in? Because that can definitely shift things as well, because everything works on that etheric field. And so if we are assuming that people, if people are assuming, if you are assuming that people are not coming because of money, then we're going to actually repel people away, because the people that you're pulling in are people that are not having the money. Does that make sense? Like, we're not holding abundant and prosperous thoughts over our clientele. And so it's actually attracting the opposite. And that's not to say that is the reason, but that could be a reason. And so have you made any shifts in like your marketing as well? Like sometimes it's not always just like the belief, sometimes it's like the logistical thing side of business. And so how do you feel like you weren't marketing as much as you were prior, or are you doing the same? Or is it maybe we need to switch up the way that we're doing things? Because oftentimes we'll get stuck because we're doing the same thing over and over and over again. Did the $10 minimum give them permission to only pay that? Some people are paying over the $10. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I got a notification up here. But that belief is it probably what's like shifting things on an etheric scale. So it's like, why do we believe that people can't afford the class? That is probably something that is like societal programming as well. And I've been having to like really watch my P's and Q's about being in the comments on TikTok, because it's rampant with people right now, because money consciousness is shifting so much right now. Okay? And we're shifting as a collective, and so it's bringing up a lot fears and anxieties and emotional processing, things like that. And so in the comments on social media, there's tons of people talking about lack and scarcity mentality, and you can get sucked in really easily in that. The minimum for $10 was me claiming that I deserve to make that. For sure. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think that is like out of wild concept for like a yoga class, for sure. Especially when I've seen it like way above that. Right? But that belief is changing the etheric field, I'm sure. So I would ask self, like, why do I think that? Why do I think that people can't afford the class? If that makes sense. Because is that like a collective belief that you have, or is that a belief of self? Because it's own money projections coming out. Because I've definitely been there myself in the past, like with my business. That was completely shifting my marketing and my content and the way that I was coming across, and in my teachings and my lives and things like that, because I used to have those like beliefs running in the background, and then I would just pull in that. I thought that claiming that minimum would send the signal to the universe, I'm stepping into my worth. For sure, but it does sound like that you still have that, like you know that you're worthy of that, but are we holding that belief of there's not people that can afford those classes? Because that's going to give out mixed signals. Do you have regular classes on top of the donation classes? Definitely, yes. So I need to do some digging into like, why do we think that is? Or what content are we consuming that is backing that up? Again, that's what I was saying, like, let's be mindful, like when we are on social media and things like that, because it really is, it can sway your subconscious like very easily when you're seeing other people talk about that, and when you yourself are having quote unquote issues while you're I don't want to call them like issues, but while you're still working on clearing these beliefs, it can sway you so intensely because you're teeter-tottering right now. You've got like one foot in the door of worthiness, but the other foot in, I don't know if people are going to be able to afford this. So if we're looking at things like that or listening and ingesting things, it might push you onto that other timeline. And I've had to be really mindful about that as well. Right? Okay, let's see. But where do we think that is coming from? Because it's got to be coming from somewhere. Like that collective belief. I definitely can see myself where I believe because I don't have the money to do it. Why would they? Oh, because you don't have it yourself? Is that what you mean? That's where we start tiptoeing into the lands of we have to feel prosperous and abundant. Yeah. Okay. So do you see what I'm saying? Like that's it. That you're externally pulling in a mirror reflection of self because you don't feel prosperous and abundant. But that's also because you're probably, and not to put your business out there, okay, but that's probably stemming from thinking that money is outside of you and that you are not money. And so it's not attracting at the same rate that you want it to because we're focused on it being external instead of internal. So there's got to be some type of like prosperity and abundance frequency off. Okay, so what I teach people about money is that when you are dismantling these beliefs is a little difficult sometimes because money is tangible. It is something that, like the paper and the coins, but it's just backed by energy. It's the same energy that you're made out of. And so the better that you feel inside with your self-concept and your self-worth and your self-confidence, which it sounds like you've been doing work in that area, right? But there's something off, whether it's like reaching levels of like gratefulness, because sometimes it's difficult to do that when we are in lack and scarcity. Hey, Tabitha. Hey. When we are in lack and scarcity mentality, sometimes it is difficult to get back up there in gratefulness, but money is just a form of abundance. I made a video about this earlier that if you are stressed and anxious about money, you need to stop thinking about it. okay? Because it's just going to make it worse, especially if you have money wounds. People weaponize money against you. You're in a scarcity hole right now, like that's just going to amplify and intense it, and then you're going to repel it away from you even more. So we have to think, where am I already receiving abundance in my life? And abundance comes in many different forms: love, peace, joy, happiness, magic, whimsy, serenity, okay, laughter, like anything that makes you feel good. Okay, so this is gratefulness up here. It's the highest frequency. Then you have abundance under that. Okay, so if you're feeling grateful, you're actually sitting above abundance, and then you naturally attract abundant things to you. And if you are feeling happiness, peace, joy, magic, whimsy, you also naturally attract more money to you, because it's all the same. It's all the same abundance frequency. Okay, so gratefulness will help you get there. So what I would suggest is really every single day focusing on, where am I already experiencing peace, joy, happiness, bliss, serenity, those other feelings and emotions, and focus on those, and just keep that flooded in your mind. Now we're in gratefulness because we're thinking about it. Now your universal algorithm outside of you is going to reset naturally. Like sometimes people get like so caught up in like these manifestation rituals. Those rituals don't even matter, to be honest with you. Like, because at the end of the day, you're the operant power of your reality, and those things help keep prosperity and abundance in your mind, right? They help you keep in that frequency. But if you just follow the good feelings and keep that, like when that fear and those anxiety about monies come up, you really got to step in and be like, hey, we're not doing that right now. Okay, I know that ego that you see what's going on here out in the 3D reality, and it's being projected back as me being in lack and scarcity. But if I keep on continue to focus on that, then I will forever stay in the trauma loop. I get so caught up in seeing the suffering. I live in Phoenix, and there's a lot of homeless people. I get that. That's where empaths and Lightworkers actually have like a lot of money wounds stem from, because we're so, hey, it's so good to see you. Hey, yeah, I like the little fairy emoji. That's where empaths and Lightworkers get caught up with a lot of like money wounds, because it's like, okay, well, I have to be this level of good to deserve, or who am I to thrive while other people are suffering? Or because there's other people suffering, that means that I also am suffering, right? But that's not helping anybody. You being prosperous and abundant, you can go out and help those people, right? Hey, Britt, hey, you can go out and help those people. And some people need to help themselves. Some people are not on a positive forward momentum train. Do you ever feel guilt I used to feel guilty for charging for spiritual work. I don't anymore. That is something that I have cleared, because I have spent my entire life getting to where I'm at, and thousands and thousands and thousands of hours of me dedicating my free time to not only healing myself, but learning a million modalities, and I still continue to do that every single day. And how can I be a better healer and a better coach? And like, it's my biggest passion, but it's a lot of work. It's almost like having a PhD in spirituality. Not saying I'm better than anybody, just that's my realm of knowledge, right? And so no, I don't, because not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody has time for that. Other people have different passions that they're interested in, things that they want to do. They don't want to spend thousands and thousands and thousands of hours watching YouTube videos and listening to other coaches and mentors and learning all these different modalities and stuff. They want to just pay somebody to help them. But that's where we start getting into those, hey, Sky. That's where we start getting into money being icky, right? And feeling bad. That's a negative viewpoint on money. Money is just neutral. It's whatever you want to make it. I see money as like Soul Rising the Rock Shock up here said, there has to be an energy exchange, and we all collectively decided that it was going to be money, but it could be anything. It doesn't. There's such an evil attachment to dollars and coins because it's shoved down our throat in society that rich people are evil, and that's all that's really focused on. Right? I made a video about that the other day about how I was watching a kids movie as an adult like a couple weeks ago, and the person was like really in lack and scarcity, and there was like this mobster guy who he like owed money to, and he was like this really rich like business mobster guy, and the guy was like, you owe me money, because he loaned him some money, and he was like, I'm going to if you don't give me my money, and I'm also going to hurt your dogs, right? And I was like, oh my God, watching that as a child, of course, I'm going to think people that have a lot of money are evil and trying to hurt other people. Like, that's programming. Why do you think they do that? Why do you think that they shove that down people's throat in society? So that the conscious people who are empaths and light workers think that is an evil, icky, yucky thing, and then you stay away from it, right? But what if all of us had the majority of the money, okay, and we were doing like great conscious things with it, and doing community gardens, and everybody could just be in their passions, right? And the good people don't have the money, and I would even argue that is like a limiting belief too, because there are like a lot of people that have good money. That's why it's very important to find representors of people who are quote unquote rich, that are doing amazing things out in the community, because that used to be one of mine as well. I'm like, okay, well, it's just like this top 1%. No, actually, there's like a ton of people out there that are doing amazing things in the collective. But it's important to have people to look up to. Otherwise, you'll just have that same programming running, and then you'll still be afraid of it. So like Dolly Parton's a really good example, Elton John, like you can do your research and find somebody that you resonate with. Tony Robbins, he's out here feeding millions and millions of people every single day. Dolly Parton out here helping little kids read. Elton John's helping get motorcycles to doctors out in Africa so they can reach people in remote places. Like that is also, that's where we have to check. Like if we're having money wounds, we got to run through all the beliefs. Like you really have to be, and I'm not saying that's you, Samantha, necessarily, just you have to be very open and honest with yourself about what are all the beliefs that I hold about money. And you have to give your subconscious evidence as to why that is not 100% true. It only needs one example. One example will do it, or at least kick you off. Okay? Because the beautiful thing about deconstructing beliefs is that when you start to give your subconscious evidence of why one area of your life is not true for a specific reason, it starts radiating out into all of your beliefs. That's where people go into a dark night of the soul. Because you start breaking down your truth paradigms within. Oh, bye, Thomas. It was good to see you. I'll answer you on Instagram later or tomorrow. That's where people go into a dark night of the soul, because you start to realize, like, oh my God, all the things that I thought were true are not. Because it's like one area of your life kind of like collapses with that truth that you thought, and then everything starts to do that. And so money is a great place, because money is a huge thing for a lot of people. Okay. My story is wild. I get big chunks of money, and then it goes away, and then I get it again. Okay, so that could be a couple different things. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. That could be a couple different things. And so that was actually something that I was trapped in for a while, because again, like, rituals are great because they help keep you in a prosperous and abundant mindset. But then you also hit this precipice point in your consciousness after you've been working on it for a while, where you're like, okay, I don't think I necessarily need those things because I am the ultimate ritual. I am the creator, right? But some of us are still oscillating in between like 3D and like 5D right now, especially with like the shifting that we've got going on. And so when I was in that place in my life, it's because I would be doing very good on my rituals and keeping a watchful eye on my thoughts and processing my emotions, and basically just doing a lot of self-love and self-care and working on my self-concept. And so then I would get money, like a chunk of money, and then I would stop doing those things. And then it would disappear. And then that cycle would happen over and over and over again, because my consciousness was not at a point where I was strong enough mentally to catch that stuff on my own yet. Like now when I have those thoughts come up, those like lack and scarcity, I can say, I don't align with that. And I can step outside as the observer and work through it. But when I was in that phase, I needed those rituals and doing something like every single day to keep myself from going down those loops. And sometimes you're in different phases, different places and spaces in your consciousness journey, because when you raise consciousness, it's almost like you're starting a baby at that new level. And so sometimes you have to pick those tools back up. Like that's happened to me before, where I was doing really, really well and not needing those things and fine. And then I reached another consciousness level and I had to pick that stuff back up, which there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes you're just oscillating more on the 3D human side than you are your multidimensional side. So I would ask self too, like, if money has been like the struggle, are we doing the self-care and the self-love things and staying consistent? Or are we being very mindful of our thoughts and not catastrophizing or letting the beliefs take over? Are we being the observer, or are we living through the trauma lenses? Because that can really shift your money dynamics. And also understanding like money is just a form of abundance. So we feel abundant and grateful. It recalibrates you. Like earlier, I had a thought pop up about this workshop I'm doing tomorrow. Okay. and it started to like bring on some stress, and I was like, I'm not doing that. I don't align with that. I'm not, because that is an old sage behavior. I said I am not participating in that. Like sometimes you have to hold a boundary with yourself and your thoughts. Okay, and I'll give you an example. So I was like laying on my bed the other day, and I needed to rest because my body was just absolutely tapped out. And I was watching TV, and this voice in my head started to say, like, you need to get up, you need to do stuff, you could be doing stuff for work right now, you could be cleaning your house, you could be going out and cleaning out the car, all this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm exhausted, I'm not gonna do that. I'm going to lay here and I'm gonna give my body what it needs. And then another voice came up, and it was like, okay, well, why don't you go on a walk? And normally I would say, great, walks are great. Walks are a great way to get cortisol out of your body. It's a great way to reset because you're out in nature. But this time I said, why do you want me to go on a walk? And the voice said, because you're not doing anything. And I said, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do something out of fear or shame or guilt. So in that moment, I was teaching my mind that it's not in control. I am. As the operant power. As the multidimensional self. I'm not going to let you kick out my central nervous system. I'm not going to let you do that. Because there's so many of us that have been addicted to stress and anxiety all our life and use that as fuel, and use shame and guilt as fuel to kick our butts in gear and do things, and it absolutely wrecks you on a emotional, physical, mental, spiritual level. And ain't nobody manifesting nothing when you are resonating on that frequency of
fear and shame and guilt. It eats away it just eats away your energy like Pac-Man. Just be eating everything away. And I do have that voice in my head. I have a voice in my head 24/7. I have 24/7 talking to me constantly. Right? That's your mental mind, but it's not you. It's a part of you. Right? Like, I burnt my adrenal glands out in 2020 because of that. Yeah, for sure. Okay, and I'll give you another example. So I have been addicted to caffeine drinks since I was 16, maybe 15. Drink one every single day, sometimes 2 a day. Not good. Okay. Because I have also been somebody who was fueled by stress and anxiety. And so that caffeine was just like destroying my adrenal glands and cortisol. And it would also make me overstimulated, you know, all this stuff. But I also was doing it because I was telling myself, like, oh, I need this caffeine because I have ADHD and I don't take ADHD medication. And this is not me saying don't take ADHD medication or do anything against you. You need to go to your doctor, okay? This is just for me and my experience, okay? And the chemicals that are in energy drinks, I know are not good for my body. Like, I know those are not good. And there's other ways to get caffeine. I just loved energy drinks. It was like my morning ritual. Okay, so about a week ago, I said, I'm done with that. I will not allow my mind to trick me into thinking that I have to do this forever, or that I need it to function and survive. And so I haven't had one. I just completely stopped. Done with it. But that's because my consciousness was not at a level. It's been a week. It has been a week. It was, I have tried over and over and over again to do that. I can't even, like, when I quit smoking, like cigarettes, that was it. I cannot even tell you how many times I tried to stop doing that. and then I tried to stop vaping. And oh, thank you, I appreciate it, thank you. And my consciousness was not at a level with that behavioral pattern where I could detach from it yet. But because I've been doing this work of being the observer of my thoughts, it's a much easier go around this time. Because when I get those intuitive pings of like, hey, let's go get an energy drink, I just say, no. I am the higher self, and that has been very bad for our body, and that is not sustainable, and I know that you want that, but I'm making an executive decision. The answer is no. It's the exact same thing with money thoughts. The exact same thing, because they're just thoughts. I was watching this video the other day, and my next thing is sugar. Okay, the next thing that I need to let go of is sugar, but I'm trying to do one at a time. One at a time. So I was watching this video the other day, and this person was talking about being in Delulu land. And I don't know if everybody in here has seen those videos where they talk about, yeah, you and me both. Yeah, I've been doing better about it. I've been eating a lot healthier, but I'm supplementing, kind of like not cutting down on the or not cutting down the sugar too much while I'm getting through this caffeine detox, so I don't wreck and pass out, because it's been a little rough. It's been rough this week. Okay, that's also why I'm so like tired. My physiology is like off. So I was watching somebody talking about Delulu land and saying that, you know, we listen to these people talk about like, oh, you just have to be the person, like embody the person who's living in your preferable reality state, and you have to stick to that until you see it projected outside of you. Okay, but some people are like, oh, that's, you know, like irrational. Like, what do you mean, right? And then the person was talking about how
everybody who is living in lack and scarcity and fear are also living in delusional land. They're living in a negative delusional land. They're choosing negative delulu. And what ends up happening is then it gets projected outside of you, and then now you have evidence as to why that is functioning, and then you just continue that trauma loop over and over again. That was definitely representative for me. For like the majority of my life is I would just expect the worst to happen, and then it did. And it was like, why don't you just choose to be positively delusional? People are very scared to do that, though, because it means that you have to let go of an identity. The person that you've been attached to. Like, and I'm not saying this is representative of everybody, this is my experience, but a large portion of my life, I was living in like victimization mode, thinking that the world was happening to me and not realizing that everything was a projection out. And I think sometimes that gets misconstrued when people hear those things, because it's like, well, I didn't choose this. Why would I choose negative experiences around me? You didn't choose it. Oh, thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that. You didn't choose it. Your subconscious did, because of the programming and the things that your parents and teachers and guardians taught you, and the trauma. Those are the lenses that you're looking through, and those are how you're creating your reality out in front of you. It's kind of like, because of the things that I lived through in childhood, I would always pull narcissists into my reality. And if you had told me years ago that that was my own doing, I would have been like, F you. Because I would have been like, why would I do that? But the deeper I got into inner child healing and subconscious mindset reprogramming and learning how to become the observer and how these things web together, I was like, yeah, of course I'm pulling them in. Of course I am. Like, because that's all I was taught as a child. Like, if you're only taught to like look at narcissists, like you're just naturally going to pull them in, even though consciously you know that's not good for you. That's why you still do it. Not y'all necessarily, just people, or why I was doing that. Or the same thing with like money wounds. Like if we're having trauma and things like that, where is that stuff coming from? Who taught you that? Where did you see that emanated? Babies aren't born with money problems. Right? Or lack and scarcity. Like that stuff is those are projections from other people's trauma or teachings. And so we got to keep asking ourselves like these inquisitive questions, especially with those voices in your head, like those negative voices that are like catastrophizing and limiting beliefs and negativity and the Delulu land. Where is that coming from? It's not mine. Like, I internalize a lot of things about my self-confidence and self-esteem for a long time, because those are things that my grandmother was saying about herself and people in my life were saying about themselves. But you hear it in your own voice in your head, and so you eventually start thinking that they're your own thoughts. But you're literally just regurgitating other people's stuff in your mind. So, like, a great way to break away from that is to say, where'd that voice come? Like, who said that in my life? Who do I remember saying that? Can we carry that over from a past life? Oh, for sure. I when doing like Akashic record readings with people, sometimes I'll see like karmic rollover lessons, but that's not any reason for you to not be able to clear it out in this lifetime. Like a karmic lesson just wasn't cleared, but you can clear it in this one. That's why, right? That's why you carried it over. Or hopefully we clear it out in this one so it doesn't roll over into the next one. But for sure, I've seen many different timelines that got rollover stuff going on. And y'all, if y'all are in here and y'all have manifestation questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat. We're just doing like a general chat today. But really, like, dissecting where these beliefs are coming from is going to help them loosen their grip. A lot of people
are afraid to face those because they feel shameful and guilty, or they don't know what to do with them, awareness is the first step. Like just being aware will start to break them down. Because your subconscious is going to, because you're a self-aware person, everybody here watching, you are going to be working on that in the background. How can I prove to my subconscious that this is not accurate for 100% of reality? Right? But you gotta know what they are. And not run from them. Like, we actually need to embrace them and then lean into them. That's how I've cleared out like tons and tons of just stuff, especially with like self-confidence, self-esteem, charging people for spiritual gifts, you know, all those things. I have to really like face those things in the mirror and say, why am I experiencing this? I'm afraid of being holeless. Did you mean to say holeless? Oh, homeless. Okay. Okay. Did you experience, like, is that a like impending, like, might happen right now, or is that a far down the line projected fear? Is that coming from childhood because you had instability? Or is that coming because somebody in your family experienced that? Like, there could be like a whole assortment of things that are behind that, if that makes sense. But if it's like a situation that you're like a 3D situation that you're facing, like, that makes it even, like, that's a whole nother thing. I'm gonna light this Palo Santo here really quick. Yeah, and if y'all have any other questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'm not facing it now. I just see a lot and it scares me. Got it. Okay. Okay. That, probably because you're seeing it actually like in your 3D reality, like outside of you, like where you live. But there's like a deeper running question of, why do I think that could be me? Because just because somebody else is experiencing that doesn't mean that you will experience that. You're also probably a whole completely different consciousness being, right? And not saying that other people aren't like high consciousness that are experiencing those things, but you have a lot more tools and resources to prevent things, if that makes sense. And I work in psychiatric hospitals, so I see it firsthand. Yeah, I totally get that. That's why it's really important, the environment that's around you. And I know we can't always just like pick up and, you know, not be certain places. And it also is a good shadow work thing too, because it makes you face what is going on internally. Because I was actually reading somebody's comment on TikTok this morning that was like, the person said something along the lines of like, I can't get out of negativity because I have so many negative people around me. And the thing about that is like, why are they there? Like, they're there to help you rise above that. Like, you can't just be in your home and a hermit and heal. Like, you can heal so far, but you actually have to have 3D triggers to actually shift your consciousness. Just like you can't learn how to hold boundaries and find your self-worth unless you have people trigger you. I think I just understand that I'm not any better than anyone, and I'm not above any situation. Right, that sounds like a self-worth thing though. Like,
sometimes, and that's where I was going back to with sometimes empaths and light workers have an issue with thriving and being very prosperous and abundant because they're juxtaposing it to other people. And like saying, well, I don't want to reach this height because then that would mean that I'm quote unquote better than somebody, and that makes me feel guilty, so I don't want to allow myself to receive because of that. So your receiving channels are closed. Oh, juxtapose. It's like comparing and contrasting something with one another. What was I gonna say? But sometimes our receiving channels are closed because of that. Because we don't want to outshine people, but it's not outshining people. Again, like, that might be programming running in the background of, okay, well, I'm going to turn into an evil person, or I'm going to be perceived as an evil person, or like, why would you change as a person? Like, people that do evil things with money, like, they probably had some not great energetics in the first place. That's why the top 1% that are up there, that people are like, oh, you know, only evil people have all the money and all that stuff. They don't attach worth to money, personal worthiness. Empaths and light workers do. They're like, okay, well, I have to reach a certain level of good in order to receive. They don't have that programming running. So that's why money they don't have those wounds. That's why they don't participate in those energy exchanges in the same way. But people that are of good of heart and compassionate and loving, you're not going to just like change, because like you would just amplify your experience and other people's experiences. Like how good would it feel if you had just all this money and then you could just give people $100 bills every day, just random people on the streets? That'd probably feel great. Right? Just out here blessing people. But also, like, we can't just support everybody either, because some people, and I don't mean support everybody, but some people are not doing their work. Like, some people don't want to shift or change. And so, like, you can't be a quote unquote servant to everyone. It's like people that, we see stories all the time that people like win the lottery, but then they go broke after a couple of years because they didn't shift their internal dynamics to be able to hold that. I would love that. It would be so fun. Or buying people gifts or paying for their grocery. Yeah. Like, how amazing would that be? Because you would do those things. So that's what I mean. There's like a lot of different things going on there, and they all have to be kind of like looked at of why are we running this programming back there? Because they're contrasting with one another too, like that web. And so it's giving like kind of like mixed signals out. This is Sprite as well. It has no caffeine in it. It feels good. It feels good to think about the things I would do for people. Yeah, exactly. Like, what if when you, oh yeah, I had major headaches. I had major headaches in those first couple days. And I was like so exhausted and tired and just irritated and overstimulated for sure. It's much better now, but even earlier I had to take like a 2.5 hour nap because the time where I would drink more caffeine was that time, and so I had to go lay down. So it's been interesting. And I'm not saying I won't ever drink caffeine again necessarily, but those energy drinks, I had to let go of those because they are not good for you. Okay, does anybody have any more questions before we finish up here? Also, if you are wanting to dive deeper on these topics, I'm hosting a workshop tomorrow, Quantum Leap Your Life. Tomorrow's Thursday, and you can go to my profile and register. Or if you want to work on your self-concept and your confidence and your self-esteem and your limiting beliefs, whether it's money wounds or just anything that you feel is keeping you stuck in life, I do offer one-on-one sessions, and I have a private mentorship program as well, if you're ready to clear those out. Oh, thank you for the follow. I appreciate that. I went, and all that information is up in my profile as well, or you can DM me if you have questions. I went 13 months without caffeine, and when I did take some, I was up for 24 hours. Oh yeah, I could definitely see that. If you haven't had some for a long time and then you drink some, for sure, it's gonna throw you off completely. But we're out here. We are adjusting to the new life with no caffeine. Okay. But then that was also a story I was telling myself too, as far as like, oh, well, and again, this is my experience. Okay. But I was telling myself like, oh, I have to drink caffeine because I'm not taking ADHD medication and I need it to focus. And so I was creating that. I was deepening that. I was amplifying that. And that's because it was an identity that I was attached to in a narrative. But again, that's my experience, so I'm not telling you don't take your medicine or anything. I'm interested to see how your connection to your higher self shifts. For sure. I feel like anytime that you make one of those conscious decisions, you become a new higher self too. When you're like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Can you talk about what to expect for the live Zoom tomorrow? Oh, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So what we're going to do when we first get on and connect with one another, I'm going to talk about the quantum shifting process and what that looks like when you're actively going through one, and how you propel yourself into one as well. Okay. And then we're going to talk about personifying your higher self a year from now, because a lot of us have these big lofty dreams, which I love that for you. I love that for me. But sometimes it gets very overwhelming because there's so many steps, and then you get burnt out, and then it's like it's not making the forward traction that you want. So that's why I always teach like, hey, let's personify our higher self a year from now, because then it's a lot more tangible. And then we're going to go through a process where I help you figure out what your goals are for the upcoming year, like break it into different sections and talk about the wheel of life, also how to embody the energetics of that quantum twin that you are trying to shift into, how to raise your consciousness, because that's ultimately what you're doing. It's not always about like the external inspired action steps that you're taking. You got to get your internal energy to match that of that person, so that you can look through the lenses of the person who's taking the correct inspired action steps, so you're not out here just burning your wheels and it's not working. And so then I'm going to do a giveaway at the end. I'm giving away a energy healing session or coaching session at the end for one of the live participants. So that is what we will be doing. It's probably going to be about a 2-hour workshop, so it's going to be participatory as well. So I recommend bringing a notebook and a pen, because we're going to be going through all of these goals together and helping you figure those out and what action steps that you can take towards those goals as well. And we're going to talk about micro goals and macro goals. Yes, I'm very excited. It's going to be great. Does anybody else have any questions about the workshop tomorrow before we hop into it? It's also going to be recorded, and so if you're unable to attend live, you can receive the recording. However, I'm doing the giveaway for the live participants. And it'll be at 3 p.m. EST tomorrow, so make sure you convert for your time as well. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for giving us all the wonderful questions to chat about. That was awesome. Hopefully that helped. Helped work through some of the things. Yay! Okay, good. Good. If anybody has any questions about the things that I talked about, you can reach out to me through DM here on TikTok or on Instagram, Soul Harmony Magic. If you want to do a one-on-one coaching session so we can dive in and see what these blocks we have going on are, what beliefs we need to clear, how we can raise our consciousness, how these things are interwebbed together. If you got stuff going on from inner childhood that might be projecting into your reality and creating the blocks, that is what I support people with. I love doing that. I love helping you clear the path. And so all that information and the workshop too is also in my bio. I also opened the School of Magic, and so this is where it's a private Facebook and a private Discord, and I pour tons of resources in there. We do monthly live calls so I can answer your questions. A great place to connect with other beautiful star beams if you want to meet some soul family from across the world. So all that information is up in my profile. Okay, or down here if you're watching this on YouTube, I'll post on YouTube. I forgot. Remember to like and subscribe if you want to see more chats like this, and then you can look in the description box down here below for all the different ways that we can work together. Hey everybody, I hope everybody's having a great day. Oh, that's so sweet, Starlight. Thank you. I hope you have a great day as well. Okay, everybody, I will see you next time. Bye.